This is War Room Moments, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and most relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. War Room Moments is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board. Here's your host, Jason Miller.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the War Room today. I have another veteran with us today. Bruce, it's great to have you here, brother. I love featuring other veterans anytime I get the chance to do that. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, take us a little bit, or tell us a little bit about you so the audience just knows just enough for us to get started.
Okay. I was born and raised in a tiny town up in north central Iowa, a little farm community. Grew up in a large farm family. I have 5 sisters and a brother. Several of us are veterans. I have a brother that's a combat vet. I have a sister that is a veteran as well. All on the Army side. So we grew up basically on a dairy farm in a small community, and had a small business in the family and etc. So that's kind of the beginning stages from where I came from.
Yeah, nice, very cool. So, that being said, because that's interesting, right? Because I grew up on a farm too, and it's like there's some synergy between growing up that way, right? And then connection into the military, and then after that, entrepreneurship. And I've done, 300 and some of these things and these podcasts, and it's always this line of pretty clear cut pathways with farm kid, military, and then entrepreneurship. It's amazing how those connections get made. So that being said, for you, did you come from a family of entrepreneurs? Obviously there was the dairy farm, but other than that, entrepreneurship and things like that, was that something that was kind of bred upon you as a child?
It was, and I didn't realize how much that made an impact on my life. My parents owned a small bait and tackle shop that was built right onto the house, and obviously the town was only like 800 people, so everybody knew everybody, and sometimes that was good and sometimes it wasn't, but plus they were very involved. I say they, and we as a family were very involved in other things in the community, church and scouting and all these other things, but back to your question, yes, I picked up a lot of the principles that I even use today from that time when I was, a young kid, and it was very impactful. And even when I was one of those rebellious teenagers, I still learned things that at that time I didn't use. But it's, I've gone back to that, all the way back to when I was crawling on the floor in that, that little bait shop.
Yeah, man, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing for sure. So let's kind of go through that journey. So you grew up on the farm, and at some point you made the decision to follow a family tradition, probably like I did, right? And join the military. So you did that part of your life. What led into, what inspired you into entrepreneurship yourself?
I guess that was probably the biggest thing, and then obviously the principles I learned in the military and things that we all are taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I came out of that, I worked various different jobs as I came out, and had to pay the bills and raise the babies, mm-hmm. and all those good things, But then I got I spent, I guess, probably the biggest turning point back to the entrepreneurial world was I spent 23 years in the insurance profession, and I was most of that. I was in management, but yet I was for the most part I was still entrepreneurial in that sense because I was an independent contractor most of it. So even though I had a corporate structure. And then what happened in 2009, I believe it was, that company went bankrupt. And basically I lost all my renewals and several $100,000. That was a hard hit. Then our son was injured in the military and was bedridden a couple of years, our oldest boy. And so, I had to find something that I didn't necessarily want to go back into the corporate world. And so once we moved from Tennessee to Texas, where we live at today, I came out here and I started to talk about a huge stretch. I actually, on the recommendation of an old friend of mine, I started an exotic jerky company, like beef jerky, but it was all exotic flavors, alligator, kangaroo, ostrich, wild boar, and a bunch of other stuff. And built that over about a 6-7 year period, from literally from $1,000 investment one time to where I thought I was going to try it. I tried real hard and it worked. So built it up to about a $600,000 or $700,000 a year gross, business. And then there's a long story behind that, but that business went away eventually because of a partnership that didn't work out.
Oh man.
Yeah, you probably heard some of these stories. So there was a lot of lessons along the way. But and I'm still to this day, a business owner and will always be that way. So it's just once it's in your blood, in my opinion, you can't stop doing it, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's amazing the like trials and tribulations, right, that you have to go through with business ownership. And it's part of the reason that I love having other veterans on the show, because of, there seems to be, well, it's not just veterans. So you take like pro athlete, right? That's another, like high performance, like really high performance people. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of NFL players on, a lot of NBA players on, a lot of people like that. Mm-hmm. And they have like parallel stories to the military story, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like a different thing, right?
I got you.
But it's amazing the resilience that comes with people that were like really super high performing for many, many years. And then they make that transition across, although maybe it's not still easy, right? Mm-hmm. But the failure rates are far reduced for sure.
Right.
And some of that I think is just because of the willingness, not to quit, right? Because it's like bred in you to like, man, it's an objective and I can't quit. I got to take the objective one way or another. Mm-hmm. And you just crawl there to get it. pretty much. I have to imagine that's kind of the way it was with the, it's too bad about the partnership thing. You hear that story like chimed in over and over again for sure. But it's too bad you had to go through that with that company. Mm-hmm. Curious to what the lesson was there for you.
A lot of it was just, I'm a very trusting guy. I mean, mm-hmm. I trust somebody right out of the blocks until they prove to me that they can't be trusted.
Yeah.
And so, I have a partner today. We're 50-50 partnership in my, our present company. And a lot of it has to do, I just, run with my heart. And do you get hurt sometimes? Yeah, that was a big hurt. Cost me about $400,000 over a period of time. So, but you just pick up the pieces and move on. You got to put the puzzle back together, and I think a lot of it had to do with just you have to be, I'll use a biblical term, you have to be equally yoked. it's like a marriage, you just have to, you have to get rid of that old baggage and just, keep moving forward. And, you can either lay down and roll over and let it get to you, to the point where it just paralyzes you, or you get back up and run again. And that's where we're at today.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there isn't a lot of options. But I'll tell you, over the last probably 10 years or so, that, we've seen, this is just my opinion, we've seen less of that resiliency in the marketplace. And, a lot of people just give up. Right. I mean, I always see a lot of the like startup companies, because I don't work with startups anymore, but I used to work with startups all the time. And, you'd see a lot of quit right before success.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was about to bust loose and just can't handle the pressure, those different things. And I think that's the uniqueness, right, behind service connected businesses that had service behind them is, well, guess what? When you're over in the box, there's no quitting.
No.
You don't get a chance to quit.
Well, you don't. And I guess some of the lessons I've learned, and I learned these way back when I was, a kid on the farm and the bait shop and all that. We worked when there was stuff to be done. We didn't go, well, it's, 4:59 and I'm going to punch the clock and leave. And that's okay. I mean, I've done jobs too. So, I've done all kinds of stuff over the years, and I've worked for somebody else, and I've worked for myself. And I personally, I worked until 3:00 this morning. I was back up at 8, and some of it's kind of comical because I don't want to sound like old grandpa, but I'm 58 years old. I'm still out here, running and gunning and doing what I do. And I enjoy it. I love it. And, and some of the young guys is comical because they're 20, 30 years younger than me. And some of them are like, I'm so tired, really, come with me for a couple of days. And, I go to bed, I get up and I do admin and sales work and all the other stuff that has to be done to run a business, and they're like, I gotta go home and sleep, okay, go ahead, I'll pay you on Friday,
Well, it's mentality though.
It is.
Right? It's how you, it's how you program your own self to, and there again, sometimes that goes back to previous things, right? I mean, absolutely. I go all the way back to as a kid, and I always say I must have been 7. It's probably not true, but it's probably older than that, but it felt like that then. I just remember my dad before school, because we had at one point like 500 head of sheep, right?
Oh, boy.
We had a huge feeder, right? And there again, this is from a kid's perspective at the time, so it's hard to say how much of this was really what it was, right? But I remember he used to, every morning there'd be a scoop shovel stuck in what seemed like the biggest mound of grain you ever saw in your life as a kid, right? And shovel that over into the bins, right? Didn't need to. The front end loader was right there. That was not the point though. Yep. The point was it's a teaching lesson of what hard work is, right? Absolutely. So, and I think, I got that bred into me very young in my life. Hell, I remember my dad used to tape bricks on the clutch of the tractor so I could reach the clutch.
I'm laughing because that happened to me.
So, and it's we can influence, what's going on in the business world. There's no doubt about it. We can influence that. Sure. But it comes down to sometimes I think it comes down to the how, right? Of how do you teach somebody without applying the do? It's pretty hard, right?
It is. Well, I think a lot of that has to do, Jason, with they have to want to. You know, if they don't want to learn, I don't care how much teaching you do, it's not going to sink in. And we have both. You know, you've been around the business world too. I mean, I'll use one. I won't say his name, but I have one young man that he, you know, constantly asks me, well, how do you do this? Or what do you do here? And he's doing it because he genuinely wants to learn. He wants to grow. Okay.
Right.
And he's, I mean, behind the scenes, which I knew there was stuff going on with him in a good way. He's reading books and he's asking questions about the running the business side. It's not just, you know, he tells me, you know, I own a private security company. He's like, I don't want to just be an employee for the rest of my life. He said, no offense, but I want to continue to, you know, to grow. I want to own my own business. I want to do this and I want to learn and stuff. And I mean, he's a young guy and he started with me with another company prior to this. And I mean, he started from literally from the ground up and, you know, just doing really mundane stuff. It was boring. I know it was boring because I've done it. But you know, he's learned and learned and learned. He continues to ask. Somebody like that, you know, I'll continue to, you know, pour the gas on the fire. I have no problem with that. That we have other people, they want to, you know, come to work and they might get there on time and they might not, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the flip side of the coin of what I just talked about, they don't want to learn. They just want a paycheck on Friday and they're going to do just the bare minimum to get by, you know, tell where I'm going to spend my time, you know, with that young man that really wants to, because I would love to, just like I had a mentor from the time I was like in my early days of the insurance trade, and had one man that changed the trajectory of my life in a huge way. And it was nothing happens by happenstance, you know, but had a guy that I met and he literally took me down the sales path of life. And sales is a broad term, you know, it can be used in any business. Well, it has to be used in any business, but that young man's doing the same thing. I just happen to be that person for him that hopefully I can make that, you know, that impact. That I had that guy that helped me form and change my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I always tell people, I mean, if you don't have some kind of mentorship in your life as a business, you have to.
Absolutely.
It's not optional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't know everything, obviously.
Right.
So we should be leaning on people that have already been where we want to go and walk the
walk.
You know, and if you can truly have that, that's huge. Like my neighbor, he's a prior CEO of Oracle, and every Monday we have a cigar, a shot, and a beer together, and we watch a game, right? Awesome. And I get more out of that time, right, than. And there again, it doesn't have to be go hire somebody and pay them $250,000 a year either, right? Sometimes it's just people in your own circle that you already know. You can just bounce ideas off them, right?
Absolutely.
And
well, they're getting, you know, and mentorship and coaching or having a mentor and or a coach is, and like you said, is critically important. But just something that I've learned over the time, you know, is to make sure that your coach or your mentor has actually been somewhere and done something. You know, they've walked the walk that you want to walk. Otherwise, it can be a mess. You know, all you have to do is go online and type in the word coach, and you'll find a million of them. But a lot of them are anyway. We're enough of that. But we've all found those.
Yeah, I'm tracking. It's a loose word nowadays. We'll leave it there.
Absolutely. I love the ones that says Coach Bob, you know, and it's like, hey, where you been, Coach?
Yeah, I actually, because it's a funny story, so I'll tell you it. The short version of it. My phone rings one day, and it's a life coach. And she sounded really, really young. So I let her kind of go through her little thing, and I was like, okay, how old are you? Right? She goes, I just turned 19. And I was like, okay, I don't want to burst your bubble here, but the term life coach probably comes with a little bit of life.
Maturity.
Right?
Exactly.
And I mean, I know doctors get degrees at young ages and all these things, so you can't always, but some things, if you're going to teach people about life skills, you've had to kind of have those life skills, right? So, but that's an area that just got totally overpopulated during COVID, right? So,
Oh, Lord.
huge. Anyway, so, Bruce, there was a lot of lessons, that kind of subtle lessons that we went through there, but for our hard heads in the audience, if you would, just have a couple of leave behinds that you could leave behind, maybe your step 1, step 2 things, two biggest things for yourself that you could share, what would those be?
One of the things that I actually have hanging on my wall is a plaque that, and I know this by heart. I'm not looking at it, okay? Because I've read it a billion times. There's a plaque that I have hanging on my wall, and it says integrity. It says long-term integrity is worth far more than short-term profit. Short-term profit can be replaced. Long-term integrity never can. So basically, do the right thing.
Yep.
And I mean, that sounds very simple. Sometimes it's very difficult. There's a lot of temptations out there, And
Yeah.
so that, integrity is everything. If you don't have that, anyway, I could go on for hours and just that one thing.
Yes, it could.
We've all had those experiences. That's a critical one. Another one that I learned from a bona fide mentor. If I said his name, you may know it. I won't even do that. But I still follow this man, have for years, as you can either work in your business or on your business. Okay. Yeah. And there's a lot of people, I still do a lot of things that I probably, if I talked with him, he'd probably tell me, why are you doing that? Why are you not hiring somebody to do that particular task? Sometimes we, even at the age that I'm at now, and I consider myself young. I still do things that I probably shouldn't be doing, but you just kind of, anyway. So if you're gonna grow and scale a business, work on your business, go out and market your business and things, and you'll find a way to staff it.
Yeah, it's two very good pieces of advice right there, for sure. So no doubt about it. Well, hey, how do people get a hold of you, Bruce? If we have like people in Texas, or just, I assume you're national, how do you want people to connect with you?
We do have a website. It's pretty basic. So if you look at it, don't expect, all the big flashy this and that, but you can look at that. It's as you can see, the name on my shirt, it's MacSon, MacSonPS.com, which the PS is Protection Services, MacSonProtectionServices.com. You'll see both of us. My business partner is actually a 9/11 survivor. And he also did 27 years in law enforcement on the streets of New York City, and we're both Army veterans, and et cetera. You can also reach out to me by email. It's real simple, Bruce at MacSonPS.com. If you want to, call me, I'll probably be the one to answer the phone. Hence, I should staff it, but I just haven't. It's our office number and or dispatch number, so you will hear our voices on the other end a lot of times. But in my opinion, that's a CEO to be plugged into their business and know what's going on too. But anyway, you can call that number. It's 972-619-7666. Again, 972-619-7666.
All right. For all your security needs. There you go. Awesome.
We are growing. We are hiring in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're not national yet. That will happen, when the time is right. But we do a wide range of everything from personal protection to, commercial business and multifamily, churches. As crazy as that sounds, they have security in churches that happens, and we do it all the time, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Awesome. Well, kind of the closing thing here is, for all the $1 million prize here is, if you could have had anybody join us today, either to listen in or participate, dead or alive, any point in time in our history, who do you think you'd love to have here and why them?
I've had a lot of great influences in my life, so that's a tough question, but I would, because of the respect that I have for them, I would say my parents. And the reason I say that is the principles were very simple. We talked about this in the beginning. Okay. Mm-hmm. They taught us stuff when we didn't necessarily want to learn, but the principles were there, and, it was like a smorgasbord, it was all there. We just had to want to, pick it up and learn it and use it. And fortunately it was there. My dad is 92 and, I still talk to him. He's kind of a man of few words, mm-hmm. He probably wouldn't sit and talk like I do. He'd probably say, yeah, but he listens a lot, and that's a key point right there. I listen to him now, and go back, and I've thanked him a lot of times. My mom's passed, but they're just hardworking, good, solid people, and they were always givers. That was a huge thing. They always were about service to others, and so I would say them.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's interesting because I always look at how I was raised, right? And kind of raised in, there's certain things today that my folks would have been, those would have been hard nosed, right? Or that's how they taught you, right?
Okay.
And we were flying back because we've got some NFL clients, and we hosted a camp in Arizona for them. And we're flying back from Arizona and coming back into Denver. And we land the plane, and it was taking a while. And my youngest daughter's 3, and she goes, "Hey, Dad, can I go say hi to the pilots?" And what hit my brain was 9/11. No, you probably can't do that, so on and so forth. Sure. So my own limiting beliefs of what mm-hmm. you can do. And the beauty behind kids, and I'm glad she did it. She blew me off completely, right? And 100% just blew me off. Mm-hmm. Spins around, asks one of the flight attendants, "Would it be okay if I go say hi to the pilot?" She takes off up there and comes back 15 seconds later, goes, "Come on." All right. Up they go. Captain gets out of his chair, lets her sit in the chair, push buttons, do all this stuff. And I got a picture of it. And I was like, man, you know what? We just need to start dreaming like kids again. Right.
That's what it is. It's asking, it's just, that's what she would have, without asking, she would have gotten a hard no.
That's it. If you don't ask, the answer is automatically no. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here, Bruce, on the show.
My pleasure.
Appreciate you being here. And I always say we all got the same 168 every week. Thanks for stopping by for 40 here. Absolutely. And spending some time here and sharing your insights with our audience and our veteran audience as well. And if you didn't get something out of that, you were asleep. So, there was plenty of nuggets to get out of that conversation. Please go back, watch it again, or listen again, and make sure you pick up all the little golden nuggets on the way. Brother, thank you for your service. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you very much.
Same as you. I salute you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Cheers.
All right.
Thanks for listening to War Room Moments with your host, Jason Miller. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we'll see you on the next episode.